I still remember the day I met him. He was loud, confident, and everyone at church seemed to love him. I, on the other hand, am quieter, more reserved. Watching him interact with people, I thought, he's charming, I'll give him that. But I never imagined I'd end up married to him. During courtship, everything felt exciting. He prayed, he smiled, he carried himself like he was on a mission. I liked that about him. But I also liked quiet evenings, order, and planning things ahead. Things I didn't really think to mention when we were dating. I thought faith and attraction would be enough to smooth out any differences. After the wedding, moving in together was revealing. One evening, he plopped on the sofa, grabbed the TV remote and shouted, "Game starting! Don't touch the remote!" I froze. "Again? Can't we watch something else for once?" "It's just one match," he replied, grinning like it was obvious. "Just one match? You've said that 100 times this week," I snapped, crossing my arms. The tension was instant. I could feel it crackling in the room like static electricity. I wanted to scream. He wanted to shrug. I quickly realized what seemed like fun during dating wasn't fun anymore. The little things, the habits, the way he lived day to day, they suddenly mattered, and now they mattered a lot. I tried to reason with him, suggested compromise, but it felt like we were speaking two different languages. I love him, I really do, but I also realized that attraction had hidden a lot of what I would face every day, from different routines to clashing priorities. By the end of that night, I sat on the edge of the bed, exhausted, wondering how the first weeks of marriage could already feel like a test I wasn't prepared for. I quickly learned that loving someone doesn't mean living with them will be easy. I thought marriage would be a continuation of courtship, a little sweeter maybe, but mostly the same. I was wrong. It started with the mornings. He is the type who wakes up late, stumbles into the kitchen, makes a mess, and leaves it for me to clean. I'm an early riser, neat and methodical. At first, I tried to ignore it, telling myself, it's fine, he'll adapt. He didn't. Then there's the food. He eats anything and everything, never measures, never plans. I, on the other hand, like meals structured and tidy. One evening, he came home starving and asked for jollof rice. I had already planned a simple dinner. "Can't you just wait?" I asked. He stared at me like I'd asked him to climb a mountain. That night, we ended up arguing over rice, of all things. And the TV situation, the TV. Every match, every game, every tournament is like a religion to him. I tried to join in once, but it's impossible. I couldn't care less about which player scored, and I couldn't even pretend convincingly. But he'd get frustrated if I asked to watch something else. Watching him so passionate about football while I sat silently, trying to ignore the tension, was exhausting. It's funny, in courtship, all of these things didn't matter. I overlooked them because love felt exciting and new. Now love was still there, but living together meant every habit, every quirk, every lifestyle choice became part of the equation. And sometimes it feels like we're just learning to survive each other. I sit at night thinking about how love and lifestyle are not the same thing. One fuels passion, the other determines peace. Loving him is easy. Living with him, that's a different challenge entirely. It's funny how marriage turns the tiniest things into battlegrounds. I never thought I would get annoyed at someone for leaving socks on the floor, but here we are. He'll leave his shoes scattered in the living room, his socks on the carpet, and I'll mutter under my breath, "A place for everything and everything in its place," or so they say. The worst part is that he never sees it as a problem. "You're overthinking," he would say, smiling like it's all a joke, and I would bite my tongue only to explode later. One evening, it started with him leaving the dishes in the sink. I reminded him politely. He replied, "I'll do it later." Later turned into hours. I told him, little drops of water eventually flood the house. He looked at me blankly, clearly thinking I was dramatizing. Then there's the TV, that cursed TV. One Tuesday evening, I wanted to watch one of my favorite shows, The Handmaid's Tale. He wanted to watch the Champions League. I tried reasoning. "Honey, a gentle hand washes away the dust," I said jokingly, meaning compromise. He ignored me. I yelled, he yelled. The neighbors probably thought we were hosting a full-blown soccer protest. You see, my husband is not just a football fan. He is a devoted follower of Manchester United. Not the normal kind of fan who just enjoys a match and moves on. No, his entire mood rises and falls with that club. When they win, he becomes the sweetest man alive. He sings around the house, buys snacks, even helps me with chores. But when they lose, that is when the storm begins. That particular night, the match didn't go well. I was already in the bedroom when I heard the final whistle from the living room. Silence followed. The kind of silence that makes your stomach tighten. Then suddenly I heard the remote hit the wall. "Useless team!" he shouted. I walked slowly to the living room doorway. He was pacing back and forth like a man who had just lost a fortune. "It's just a game," I said carefully. He turned to look at me like I had insulted his ancestors. "Just a game?" he repeated. Right there, I knew I had stepped on a landmine. You see, there's a proverb my grandmother used to say. When a man carries fire in his heart, even cold water can burn him. That night, I understood it perfectly. What started as a simple football loss quickly became an argument about everything else. The TV, the food, the house, even things that had happened weeks ago. His voice grew louder with every sentence and mine followed close behind. At some point, the shouting turned to pushing. That was the first time it happened. I remember standing there afterwards, my heart pounding so hard I could hear it in my ears. The TV was still glowing in the background, the sports commentators talking like nothing had happened. That night I realized something frightening. In our house, football was no longer just football. It had become something else entirely. And every time Manchester United stepped onto the pitch, I secretly prayed they would win. Not because I cared about the club, but because I feared what would happen if they didn't. And the food, I swear, the man eats like the proverb says, empty stomach, full tongue. He never stops complaining about the meals I prepare, yet never helps with cooking or cleaning. Every chore, every routine, every tiny decision becomes a reminder that living together is not like dating together. By the end of the week, I'm exhausted. I love him, I really do, but I'm learning the hard way that marriage magnifies everything. Little things I ignored during courtship, now they are shouting at me, and all I can do is remind myself, a calm heart keeps the tongue quiet, even when the living room looks like a tornado just passed. Sometimes I wonder if he and I are secretly competing for who can be more stubborn. It's not just small disagreements anymore, it's full-on ego battles. One evening, I decided to reorganize the living room the way I liked it. Nothing drastic, just tidying up the shelves and moving the chairs. He walked in, stopped dead in his tracks and froze. "Who told you to touch my stuff?" I blinked. "I just thought it would look nicer this way." "Your thought?" He scoffed. "Do you know how I arrange things? I like it this way." I wanted to laugh honestly, but instead I said nothing and went to the kitchen. But you know what happens when two egos collide? Silence becomes louder than words. Later he brought it up again. "You don't respect my things. You never listen." I shot back. "And you never consider anyone else's opinion." I remember mumbling under my breath, "When the lion and elephant fight, the grass suffers." That was me, stuck in the middle, watching two heads of pride slam into each other like titans. He didn't stop with the furniture. Even dinner turned into a debate. I cooked a meal he didn't like, he complained. I complained back. One word led to another. Soon we were both shouting, voices echoing in the apartment. I even muttered the old saying, "Pride goes before a fall," but it felt like neither of us cared. Sometimes I catch myself staring at him, wondering how someone I loved so much could become the person I argue with daily. Courtship never showed me this side. All the egos, all the stubbornness, all the my way or no way moments. By the end of the night, I retreat to my room, heart pounding, thinking maybe love alone is not enough. But then I sigh, because I know tomorrow will come with the same fights, the same stubbornness, the same little victories and losses. And somehow, in all this chaos, we're still trying to make it work. By now, I had learned one thing the hard way. Marriage magnifies every little flaw, every stubborn streak, every habit you thought was cute during courtship. I remember sitting in the living room one afternoon, watching him scroll through his phone and thinking, even a calm sea hides strong currents. That was us, two people who loved each other, but kept bumping against invisible walls. It started with the small gestures. I decided that if I wanted peace, I had to give in sometimes. He had his football nights, I had my quiet reading evenings. I learned to look the other way when the living room got messy and focus instead on the moments that mattered. And slowly, the fights over little things became fewer. One Saturday, he tried to cook for the first time. It was a disaster, but he smiled through it, insisting, "I'm helping."
I laughed and reminded him, even the longest journey begins with a single step. That evening, we ate burnt rice and cold beans and laughed until our stomachs hurt. For the first time, I felt like we were figuring it out together. Of course, there were still moments when egos fled. He'd insist on staying up late watching a match. I would groan. I would nag about chores. He would roll his eyes. But instead of arguing, I learned to pause and breathe. And slowly, he started noticing the little things I did for him too. Looking back, I realized that courtship had only shown me the highlights. Marriage was showing me the behind the scenes. And behind those scenes, you either fight endlessly or find ways to navigate the chaos together. By the end of that week, we had a small breakthrough. We sat on the sofa, messy living room and all, sharing snacks and stories. For the first time, I didn't feel the tension pressing down on my shoulders. We were still learning, still stubborn, still clashing in ways only married couples understand. But we were starting to understand each other. And somehow, that made all the difference.
It actually started with something small. Another match night. Of course, it involved Manchester United again. Normally, whenever they played, the house would feel like a battlefield waiting for the first gunshot. But that evening, I did something different. I walked into the living room with 2 bowls of popcorn and sat beside him quietly. He looked at me suspiciously. "You are not going to fight for the TV today?" he asked. I shrugged. "It's just football. Let's watch." That sentence alone seemed to confuse him. During the match, instead of complaining or arguing, I started asking simple questions about the players, the tactics, the funny nicknames fans give them. At one point, I even laughed when a player slipped and missed an easy pass. He stared at me. "You are laughing?" he asked. "Of course," I said. "Isn't football supposed to be fun?" That moment changed something. For the first time, he started explaining the game instead of defending it like it was a family member under attack. We joked about missed chances, mocked dramatic dives, and even argued playfully about referees. Then, the unexpected happened. They lost again. Normally, that would have been the moment the house turned into a thunderstorm. But instead of throwing the remote, he just leaned back and sighed. "Ah well, maybe next match," he said. I turned and looked at him like I was witnessing a miracle. Later that night, he admitted something to me. He said he had started noticing how much stress he carried whenever the team lost. His chest would tighten, his head would ache, and sometimes his blood pressure would shoot up just from shouting at the screen. He laughed a little and said, "Imagine getting sick because 11 men you've never met failed to kick a ball into a net." That sentence stuck with him. Little by little, he began changing the way he watched football. He still supported Manchester United, still wore his jerseys, still argued about tactics with his friends, but he stopped attaching his peace of mind to the result of a match. Now when they lose, he just shakes his head and says, "It's only a game." And strangely enough, the house feels lighter these days. The TV no longer feels cursed. Football nights don't feel like emotional war zones anymore. Sometimes we still argue. After all, marriage without small arguments is like soup without salt. But these days, when the match ends, the remote stays safely on the table and our peace stays right where it belongs.